I'm going to be messing with one of my items that I recently found for real cheap at the thrift store. And you don't always get great deals at the thrift store, but I think this one turned out pretty well. Here you are. This, for $9.97, is a Hunton trail camera. Now these are pretty out of stock, out of commission. They don't make these anymore, whatever I'm trying to say. And that being said, that's probably why it's so cheap. That, and it's kind of a juice hog here. If you check it out, it takes 4 of these C batteries, and I'd imagine it burns through them pretty fast. Uses an SD card, so that's still good, and have an option for power. I bought this unaware whether or not it would work, and let's see if we can get it to come on. As you can see, it does, well, hopefully you can see it. It does come on. The screen is kind of weird. I'm guessing that these batteries aren't all that good. That being said, I was previously able to actually go through and actually program this. When I turned it on, it wouldn't take a lot of photos. It wouldn't take photos at all, really. And so I decided to start over again and go for broke. See if there are some other options, or if I would have to take this apart and go with something homemade. By homemade, I mean maybe a Raspberry Pi inside of this case. That seems like it would work really well, but for the time being, a less than $10 trail camera, right up my alley. I've got 2 good ones. Why not have a couple extras? So, I'm going to actually take a look at what we can do with this one. Some options here. Not only do I want to see what I can find out about what's wrong with it, I actually am thinking about upgrading even. You might notice it's just kind of this green, pretty easy to see. I've never done hydro dipping before, but this seems like the perfect type of opportunity for such a thing. That, and then you see this lens. I always think time-lapse and trail cameras don't have a wide enough lens. That being said, I am going to 3D print inserts for here and something in here, well, I guess inside the case, to make a lens mount for a 3D lens for a cell phone camera, which I just so happen to have. So let's start off with our disassembly. Act like you didn't see that. Act like you don't know that was already open on the top. Gently move this. Alright, now let's take a look at what we have here. We have pretty simple construction. We see this here holds the waterproof or water-resistant filter on the front of the lens. So if we want to add some sort of an adapter for a wide-angle lens, we're going to have to adapt it to fit that. Now let me see what we got here. I've already taken this apart, but as you can see, this is a wide-angle lens that would actually clip onto the front of a cell phone camera. And I've done some measurements to see where it would sit. You see it comes out a little bit further, but because of the way this is, thinking I'm going to move this main lens to the outside here. So we're going to need an adapter ring there, and we're going to need this piece designed to fit the wide-angle fisheye lens. I don't know how successful that'll be. But that being said, since we've got this mostly taken apart, and I'll take it apart even more, we can take a look at what this needs. And we can also leave it apart long enough that we can do our hydro dipping if we remove some more extra hardware. This lens, of course, these covers, and all those items. That being said, let's see. Oh, hey. I don't know how well you can see that right there. We've got corrosion on that battery. Now, if only we had, oh, look at that. Look at that. That's an exact match to that battery. So now, all we need is some careful disassembly without breaking anything here. Easier said than done, probably. And install this battery where that old corroded battery is. In the process, we'll probably also see if there's any additional damage. So, let's get to work. I'm going to disconnect some of these connectors. Let's get this out of here. Okay. Now, if you had PTFE lubricant, this would probably be a good opportunity for you to use those things. So that when you put these screws back in, that the old aged plastic doesn't just completely snap off, which is a risk that you run when you disassemble and reassemble these types of items. Now in the process, watch out for these movable parts. Here's the IR filter that allows this to take photos during the day or nighttime. That plug doesn't want to come out. Maybe if we do it from this side instead. Yeah, there we go. And some glue. It's plugged in to the board on the back side there. Let's see if there's anything else before we break stuff. Actually, it's going to be fun to reassemble, I can tell you that much, without getting that far. Okay, let's get this out of the way. We don't need that blocking the way. We need to just get this one board out, and then we're golden. That one's hopefully going to be out of the way. So we got one screw here. One screw here. We got one in the middle right there, and probably one on the opposite side. Yep, there's one there. There's one there. Alright. Now we're getting it. There we go. Very, very careful. We can always resolder things, but it's better if we don't have to, right? Alright. These screws are going to be real difficult to get back in there in the tight space, so I'm not looking forward to that aspect of it. But what we're looking at now is desoldering this point and this point of the battery. Now note here, I'm going to just put that back in, why not? Probably shouldn't be touching all these parts on the board, but note this is the positive. So this side goes like that. I'm going to go ahead and flip that like so. Uh-oh. Oh, you got something. Oh, look at that. That's probably damaged. Oh, no. It's just, okay. This goes right there. Alright. Probably would benefit from having some of that heat productive tape that some of the pros have. If you're a real hobbyist like me, you have really weird accessories around for such things as injection molds and whatnot, and maybe you can use those things today. Squirt a tiny, tiny bit. Right there. You have to remember to clean that with acetone after we're done. Not particularly good for our metals. Alright, so I've got the solder sucker depressed. I think we got a lot of it up, but not all of it. so let's try that again. Alright, so much of our solder pad is gone on that one. I'm always at a little bit of a loss for desoldering in situations like this. Alright, let's see how we're looking. Okay, we need a little bit more. I need a third hand is what I need. One of those third hand tools would be awesome, but mine isn't particularly good. There we go, we got the one loose. Now time for the second one. Now keep in mind there's no indication whether this is going to do the trick. Maybe we'll even make things worse. So, only one way to find out, right? I'm sure there's people who know what they're doing. But today, remember this is Travis or Grim Tinkers. Says they tinker, they know what they're doing. Experts don't tinker, they just engineer and whatnot. Alright, so I kind of don't want to heat that more than I need to, but I'm going to have to. So a little bit more. Alright. Yeah, this thing's going to be a real blast to put back together, isn't it? Alright. So we said positive is going downward. Ooh, look at that. We got some stuff there. I'm going to clean that up. Alright, I'm going to use some acetone here. I'm going to use that to kind of, it's probably not the best way to remove that battery tarnish, but I don't have much else at the moment, so we're going to just kind of wipe that up. I'm going to give it a little bit of a wipe on those ones too. So this might be a problem. The solder points on there are pretty tarnished as well. I'm going to kind of do this. Maybe I should do a reflowing, but honestly I've never done that before, so I'm a little bit worried about wrecking things. Alright. Alright, like we mentioned, clean up with a little acetone, get some of that solder flux off the board, prevent additional corrosion. Now, it's a mess. That's probably a major part of our problem also, if I had to guess. But we need some contact cleaner. We don't have that today, so maybe I'll go get some before we finish the other portions of this video. There we go. Alright, so we got a fit. I think that this is actually, I'm sure other people would disagree with me, but I feel like soldering is quite often, maybe not always, but quite often, much easier than desoldering, mainly because you only need 2 hands. a little bit more than we necessarily needed there. We're going to come back again with that acetone. There we go. Actually, I like that. Fairly shiny. Clean up from the rosin core. Yeah, this one's not perfect. It got a little bit burnt. This other one's a lot better. Now, we could probably put this together and see how that worked. I'm going to take a risk, and I'm going to go through this whole project before I reassemble, because it's just going to take so much work to do so. So that being said, we will reassemble the pieces that are on here without reassembling the rest of the board, or the rest of the machine. I'm going to go ahead and start off by putting... Alright, just like that, we're all back together. Well, that did seem to go pretty well. The desoldering, resoldering went pretty well. This chip down here still has some corrosion around the contacts there. We'll get some contact cleaner and a soft brush and see if we can clean that up. It's possible that chip's toast. In which case, all this might be for naught.